His focus is on the design and use of parks and streets as great public places. He is the founder and chair of the Canadian nonprofit organization 8 to 80 Cities, as well as the ambassador of World Urban Parks, the international representative body for city parks, open spaces, and the recreation sector. Gil leads a consulting firm, Gil Penalosa and Associates. He also serves as the senior advisor to the Vision Zero Network, the Children's in Nature Network, which many of you in the room know, and America Walks. Throughout his career, Gil has been a strong advocate for improving city parks, making his first mark in the late 1990s, where he led the design and development of over 200 parks in Bogota, Colombia. His team also initiated the Ciclavia, which Ciclavia means bikeway in Spanish, the Open Streets program in Bogota that sees 1.7 million people walk, run, bike, and skate along Bogota's city roads every Sunday of the year. And if this sounds vaguely familiar here in Atlanta, this program inspired the wildly successful Atlanta Streets Alive program that was initiated by the Atlanta Bicycle Coalition back in 2010 and continues to this day. I did actually look this up. The next Streets Alive is April 7th, where they'll be taking over Peachtree Street, which is awesome. July 9th, they're doing an east-west cross-city tour, which I think, again, on this idea of bringing the city together, I think is fabulous. And then September 29th in Southwest Atlanta. So I would encourage you to join the Streets Alive and Open Streets movement and come out for Streets Alive. Because of Gil's unique blend of experience, pragmatism, and passion, many cities and organizations worldwide seek his leadership and valuable advice. He has worked in over 300 different cities in all continents. Please join me in welcoming back to the stage, Gil Penalosa.
Thank you. You know, around the world, half of the homes that we're going to have in 40 years do not exist today. Do not exist. Half of the homes. When we tell the population of city, another map, because it's sticking up. Okay. When we think of the population of Mexico City, New York, Tokyo, in the next 40 years, we're going to be doing a Mexico City, a New York, and a Tokyo every 4 months. Every 4 months. That is how cities are going to change in the next 40 years. Today we got about 3.5 billion people living in cities. Within the lifetime of the students today, we're going to go to 7 billion. In the lifetime of our children, that has never happened before and will never happen again. That we increase by 3.5 billion people. And it can be very nice and very civilized. In the next 25 years, Atlanta is going to double the population. The metro Atlanta is going to increase by about 40 to 50%. That means that about half of the homes that you will have in Atlanta just 25 years do not exist today. And sometimes people say, where are we going to feed all of these people? And some people think, oh, we hate those gigantic buildings. Well, you don't really need to have 40-story buildings. You can have the same density in 10 different ways. You can have the same density in 5, 6, 7-story buildings next to each other than in... Yeah, this is working very well. You can have this... Hello, hello, hello. Okay, better. So you can have the same density in 40-story buildings every other block than if we have 4, 5, or 6-story buildings next to each other, which can be a lot nicer and a lot more human, and there's a lot less resistance. So imagine half of the homes that you will have in Atlanta within the next 25 years do not exist today. What a fantastic opportunity. But also, what an enormous responsibility. Because whatever we do or don't do in Atlanta and around the world in the next 40 years is how people are going to live for hundreds of years. So if that is what's going to happen in the next 25, 30, 40 years, then let's see what we have done in the last 30 or 40 years. Because if what we've been doing is good, okay, let's just do more of the same. But in the last 40 years, these 8 guys have more wealth than half of the population. Imagine the political power, the media power. This is how we've been building cities around the world. We have assumed that housing is just an issue of supply and demand. And when supply and demand works, whenever there is supply and there is demand. If I'm selling clickers and I charge too much money, then Michael is going to sell clickers and charge less and the price comes down. But the land is fixed. It doesn't matter how much demand there is, there's not going to be any more land. So this is how we've been doing all over the world, sending the poorest people to the worst places. We've been focusing on cars and not on people's happiness. And even from the point of view of mobility, we haven't even solved mobility. We haven't even solved traffic congestion. And the worst thing is that the emerging countries like China and Russia and Brazil and Mexico are doing exactly the same things. You know, this is all across Italy. And one highway intersection at the same scale. You know, we learn how to do cities, and somehow we unlearn how to do cities. This is what we've been doing. You know, the cities, they don't decide how much population they want. That's at the national level. But the cities do decide the how. This is how we've been building cities in the last 40 years. Cities that have 21 parking spaces per car. You know, there are absolutely no parks. There are no trees, no parks. Imagine you are a child or a handicapped person or an older adult. You're going to be like a slave to someone with a car just to go out for an ice cream. So it's very clear that the last 40 years have not been good. The overwhelming majority of the cities that we have done in the world and across the US are really horrible. Are not financially sustainable, are not environmentally sustainable, are not good for physical health, are not good for mental health. So we got to do things radically different. We got to improve the communities that we have today, and we got to create great cities for many, many, many more people. So the role of parks and recreation is going to be so critical. So let's put the cities a little bit into context, because we're also having public health crisis, physical and emotional. We are having population growth, we're having climate change, and we see the symptoms everywhere, even if some people don't want to believe in them. Yeah, you know what I was talking about. You know, this is Chicago. This is the downtown. People say, oh, the cities, you know, climate change, they are so bad for climate change because look how bad it is. No, you don't do it per square mile. You do it is per capita. And the reality is that when cities are dense, they are a big part of the solution of climate change. The sprawl is really, really, really horrible for climate change. We're living longer, and not just in Atlanta. We're living longer everywhere. You know, we've been around for 200,000 years. 200 years ago, all of these are the countries in the world and the life expectancy. We didn't have any country with a life expectancy above 45. Today we don't have any with a life expectancy below 45. Not even the poorest countries in Africa. This is amazing what has happened in only 200 years. So today we're going to talk about cities and communities and how to get to the park. That's why we also going to talk about sustainable mobility. Walking and cycling and riding bicycles, taking public transit, new uses of cars. By the way, when I'm talking about walking and cycling, it's not a joke. This could be Atlanta, anytime. Even in the cities that have winter, it can be very useful. You know, walking and cycling is not a frivolity. Walking and cycling is how we get to the parks. Every single trip to the parks begins walking or cycling. Walking and cycling is the only individual mode of mobility for most people. For every child that you live in Atlanta, you might be the son or the daughter of the wealthiest person. if you're under 16, your only individual mode of mobility is to walk or bike. So doing it safe and enjoyable should be almost like a human right. Unless you think that only the people that have the car and the money and the desire to drive have a right to individual mobility. That's how I was talking about democracy, human rights, and equality and sustainability, because everything is really linked to everything. So how do we want Atlanta to become? That is the key element. And public spaces are so important, and not only the parks, but the streets. You know, between 30 and 40% of Atlanta, if we look at Atlanta from the air, between 30 and 40% are streets. It's by far the biggest public space. It's bigger than the parks. But of course, we gotta think of the parks and the role, and let's open our mind about parks. Sometimes, you know, Detroit is going through a revitalization. What are they doing? They're doing parks. Malmo, they lost half of the jobs in 2 years because they went to South Korea. They went through parks. Sometimes, you know, beautiful parks like Pittsburgh in the heart of the city. Sometimes they are elevated like in New York or Chicago. Sometimes they are along the rivers. And the things we do in parks. I was working in Chicago with the last World Soccer Cup, and I went to the parks to watch the games. And that's what they were doing in Korea, and in Colombia, and in Germany. But it's not just about sport. The Red Revolution, people go to the parks and occupy Wall Street. You know, one of the things is that the parks and the public places are fantastic equalizers. Here, no one knows who's young, who's old, who's rich, who's poor. The ethnicity, the social background. And it's not just about sports or politics. This is 2 million people in Rio. It wasn't during the World Cup. The Pope came and gave a mass for 2 million people. And it doesn't have to be big. Sometimes the public space is just small. As there, this guy in Rio is watching everyone. Imagine from the point of view of citizen engagement, you get 113 people painting each one step and putting their initials. A few weeks ago, I was working in Minnesota and in Alaska, and they were ice fishing. So sometimes people say, it was a good city. And then I said, a good city is one where I want to sleep at home, but I want to live outside. I want to live outside. So we need to decide, how do we want to live? So it's such an honor to be here, celebrating the 30th anniversary of Park Pride and sharing some ideas. And it was such an honor also to hear the 2 earlier speakers on health and New York. And Mitchell Silver is so modest, but what they're doing is such a magnificent transformation. And like they say, if it happens there, it can happen anywhere. It takes vision, it takes leadership, and that's what Mitchell is doing all across New York. It's about having clarity on the issue of equity. It's not just about having magnificent parks where the wealthy people live. I mean, Pittsburgh is as good as any park in the world. It's also about having magnificent parks where the poorest people live. Actually, even more important. So, I want to provide 8 messages. First, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's about having vision and having action. Now I live in Canada. Before I immigrated to Canada, I was commissioned in Bogota. And I learned that it was not about the money. Now I advise many cities, but before I was doing, for example, we built over 200 parks in 1 term, all over the cities, small one, big one. This was one of them. The Pope came here, gave a mass for 1 million people, and then he left and nothing happened in 27 years. Why nothing happened? Because change is hard. In Atlanta, or in Bogota, or in Copenhagen, or Tokyo, or anywhere. In 27 years, nothing happened. Because you try to change, and the cave people show up. You know them. They are the citizens against virtually everything. But you don't take no for an answer. You gotta find solutions to the problems, not problems to the solutions. You gotta find that little crack through the window. Don't say, oh, it's hard here. It's always hard, everywhere. But then, this is how it was for 27 years, and this is how it was in 3 or 4 years. We turned it into the nicest park for active, for passive, for contemplative recreation, for things that people can do at their own time. It's not just about soccer fields, it's not just sitting down and watching the birds. Sometimes you gotta do things with lots of people, sometimes just with a friend. And people were saying, why are you doing so many parks when in Bogota is so poor and the poor people have so many needs? Well, if you really care about poor people, when the poor feel miserable, it's in the leisure time. in the leisure. That's why we also did hundreds of small parks in some of the poorest neighborhoods where they were not even streets that were not paved. You know, when people are working, the CEO or the minimum wage worker cleaning floors, they have a similar experience. Maybe the CEO has more anxiety and more stress. But in the leisure time, the CEO has country clubs and cottages and travels and restaurants and theaters and movies and things. The minimum wage worker doesn't. So when we in parks and recreation, we work on improving what we are really doing is improving the quality of life. Also, we did ciclovia. What is ciclovia? I found a program with just a few miles, and we turned it into the world's largest pop-up park. Sunday mornings, we pop it up. How do you do it? It's really, really simple. Open streets to people, close it to cars, and the magic happens. 75 miles every Sunday and holiday, so it's about 65 days of the year. And you get people of all ages, young and old and rich and poor, and dogs, and people walk, and people bike, and also run and skate, but not everybody wants to do that, so along the route in the parks, we use the open streets to connect all of the main parks, so that people will go and try other parks. And there we do yoga, tai chi, and cha-cha-cha. Anything, as long as it's, the common denominator is that it's physical activity. And it's something that is totally doable. And it's really great because it's the only time, it's the only place in the city where everybody meets a sequence. Everybody meets a sequence. And that is really, really amazing. We got about 1 out of 4 people coming out. My inspiration was Frederick Olmsted. And Mitchell mentioned Olmsted this morning. Well, Olmsted was doing Central Park 150 years ago. He said in New York, everybody hated everybody. The locals and the immigrants, the rich and the poor. And he said they don't know each other. They don't live in the same building. Their kids don't go to the same school. They don't even go to the same restaurants. Well, the open streets is, in some ways, is a way for everybody to meet each other as equals. It changes minds. It really is shaking people up and saying, you know, that is that 30–40% of our city, the streets, are public space. They belong to everybody. And the one in Atlanta is really great. I really love Streets Alive. It's so nice. Only 2 recommendations. Yesterday when I went for a run, I saw a lot of these signs. Wow, it's too negative. Streets Alive is so small and it's a road closure. Expect delays. It's a party. It's a celebration. Signage is very important. Sometimes you go to the parks and you see the sign, and all of the signs says negative, you know. No dogs, no screaming, no this, not it, and be careful of poison ivy, and throw a paper. It's amazing, people even go to the park. Please, when you put signage in the parks, make sure that it's like a sandwich. First the pat on the back, then the kick on the butt, and then end with a pat on the back. So say, welcome, enjoy our park. Please, help us with no garbage, no dog, no whatever. At the end, please come back. So start and end with something positive. Don't have 10 no's in the park. So also you're going to have more frequency. You're going to do it at least every month. The first Sunday of every month in 2019. And if it works, next year do it every week. At least from April to October or something. This is about social integration. You know, even city of Los Angeles, Angels and Heart, they got their own, they are doing it monthly. So if LA can do it monthly, why not Atlanta? Portland and India, and so many other places. And then, you know, we need a sequence, and that is what's most powerful. And if the leaders of the city don't want to do it because it's India or Bogota, well, tell them New York is doing it in the summer, but also when they began, they're doing it also pretty much where the wealthy people live. And now with this new administration of New York, probably it will go to so many other places. And Paris does it all year. You know, also we did 175 miles of protected byways in 3 years, 175 miles. And connected, but also the parks, so that every rainwater drainage became a linear park and also became a bikeway. And people say, oh, is that for recreation or is it for transportation? It's for both. For both. It's like the belt line. Sometimes you're going to use it for recreation, some days you're going to use it for transportation. And but some places in Bogota is much poorer than Atlanta, obviously. Some of the places were so poor that it's almost impossible for you to imagine the levels of poverty. And why do you need good bikeways and good sidewalks? Because we need, it's safer, but also we need to dignify the cyclists. We need to dignify the pedestrian. We need to dignify the people that are using parks and getting to them. And that is very, very critical. So when I'm talking about walking, I'm talking about anybody that moves at the speed of the pedestrian. And now, as of 3 years ago, one of my brothers is mayor. Again, he was 20 years ago. When politicians talk about parks or about any topic, don't really, what you really know and what they care about is not what they talk about. It's when you look at the budget. You look at their budget. In this administration, it's way larger than any other. For example, some of the things that they are doing, putting lights in 1,000 parks. People say 1,000 parks in just 4 years? Well, after 2.5 years, they have done already the 1,000 parks. They are now at 1,264 parks. Why lights? So that, because when the parks are dark at night, it's a fertile place for gangs and drugs and things. But if you have lights, it's a wonderful place for the community to get to there. They are doing 100 artificial turf fields. Why artificial turf? Because then you can use them 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Instead, if they're natural turf, you can use it only for 2 or 3 games, 3 or 4 days a week, and it has to rest. So it's only the elite that ends up using the natural turf fields. Also, big parks around the city, 3 zonal parks. One of them where there's a water reservoir for 1,200 hectares. Another one even bigger for 4,900, and one trail across the city, across the mountains. And these are some of the images of the changes that are taking place. But second measure, let's create 880 cities. Now I am the founder and chair of 880 cities. And I've been lucky to have worked in over 350 different cities. Waterfront parks, I think that Parks Pride as well as Atlanta as a city should join because it's just a place to share ideas. Everybody can learn from everybody. We just basically want parks where easy access to quality urban parks. And Mitchell said something very important this morning. It's not only to have quality, the quality is very important. It's not only proximity. So it's not only the walking score that you see a park and then you go there and it's something horrible. No, we need proximity, but also we need quality. It's a combination of both, and we do conferences like this one that's going to take place in Mexico in May, and then in Bogota in June, and there's going to be greater and greater in Denver. This is going to be a fantastic, it's organized by City Parks Alliance. That's in July 19. And there's advocacy committees. If you want more information, waterfrontparks.org. But everywhere I go, people say, Gil, what's 880 cities? Well, 80 cities is not really about parks or streets or walking or cycling. Those are the means, not the end. The end is how can we help create successful cities. And I like to go and see the venue. Like yesterday I was here looking at the venue. I was going to speak in Warsaw in the outside. And I went to see the venue and all of these people are dancing. And I said, how am I going to compete with this the next day? And I saw the DJ Vika. We are living longer. She's a businesswoman. She has this, goes from park to park, from city to city. So that's what successful cities are, and with healthy communities. And we're going to have happier people. And always people say, Gil, can my children walk to school? Is this intersection safe? Can they walk to the park? Can my grandparents ride their bike to the park? Well, you don't need to be a transportation engineer. 3 simple steps. We call it the 80 rule of common sense. Unfortunately, common sense seems to be the least common of the senses. Step number 1, think of someone that you love around 8. Your son, your daughter, your grandchild. Step number 2, think of an 80-year-old that you love, your parents, your grandparents, brothers, sisters. And when you have the child and the other adult, then step number 3, will you send them across that intersection? Would you send them walking to the park or riding their bike? Would they feel safe? If you want it because it's safe enough, if you would not, it's because it's not, and we're going to do it better. What if everything we did in Atlanta, everything, the sidewalk, the park, the crosswalk, the botanical gardens, the restaurant, the library, the schools, everything had to be great for an 8 and an 80-year-old. Not 8 to 80s, 8 and 80 is an indicator species. Because if it's good for the 8 and it's good for the 80, it's going to be good for everybody, from 0 to over 100. We got to stop building cities as if everybody was 30-year-old and athletic, and create great cities for all. It's simple but powerful concept. Third, let's move on sustainable mobility. We need to walk and bike, I use transit, cars. Walking. Walk. Every single trip to the park begins and ends walking. We walk to the cars, we walk to the public transit, we walk to bicycles, everybody walks. And we're, walking, that's how we were created. Walking, pedestrians. Just like the bird they fly or the fish swim and the deer runs, people, we walk. We walk. Even in the horrible days, we walk. The other day, I go and I start walking, and I see all of this. I said, oh my God, does it mean that for walking, you gotta dress up in Lululemon and go back? Now we walk with dress like all of us can walk in here. And when we walk, we use all our senses. We're walking and we see the children playing and the youth going to school. We hear the birds singing. We go from a coffee shop and we smell the aroma. Moms and children, they walk, and all their adults. We walk in the summer, we walk in the winter, but we gotta make it safe. And it is not safe today. And since every single trip to a park begins and ends walking, we gotta work on this. Yesterday, people driving cars killed 741 people walking. Everybody's concerned because of the 2 planes that fell down. Well, that is 5 planes per day. 5 planes today, 5 planes tomorrow, 5 planes the next day. That's a person every 2 minutes. Don't call them accidents because they can be avoided. They're incidents. That's why cities are working on Vision Zero, saying we don't want anybody else, so we need to change. But sometimes cities have Vision Zero, but they don't put the money or action, so it's not Vision Zero. Zero vision. We need to improve and make it a priority. This is not a priority when we do sidewalks like this ones. Or when we allow the cars to be on the sidewalk, or when we don't even do sidewalks. We're telling this woman every day, you are a second-class citizen. Sidewalks. There is nothing as important as the sidewalks in the city. Nothing. The most important infrastructure. The sidewalks, that's where we meet each other. We meet our neighbors, we meet boyfriends, we meet girlfriends. We develop a sense of belonging to the city. That's how we walk to the park. We use the sidewalks in the summer, we use them in the winter. Children catch Pokemons on the sidewalks. We catch buses. We meet the people selling flowers and fruits and vegetables. Sidewalks are amazing. All day, what happened? The sidewalks remind us a little bit that walking is much more than walking. I was working in Buenos Aires a few months ago and I saw people dancing tango in the middle of the sidewalks. Sidewalks are so much more like a family of the parks than public works. Maybe sidewalks should be taken over by parks and recreation. In New York, this morning we heard, they already took over all of the sidewalks around the parks. But maybe all of the sidewalks, think about what happens in the sidewalk. It's like mini parks. It's like linear parks across the city. And sometimes when they are run by public works, they don't put any benches, and they don't put lights, and they don't put trees. So maybe if it was run by parks, maybe we would have all of that. And if we don't improve walkability, we gotta lower the speed. Everybody, every single residential street in Atlanta should be 20 miles an hour. Not because 20 is 20 sounds bad, but because if you get hit by a car at 20, there is 5% probability of being killed. At 40 is more than 80%. And there are many, many studies that show this. Seattle, last year, Seattle lowered the speed in 2,600 miles. Why? Because they want to keep people safe. New York did lower citywide. Oh, with many cities. I mean, is Seattle any better than Atlanta? No. Please tell the mayor to lower the speed. These are not technical things. If you put a small island, then you eliminate more than half of the incidents. Why are we still doing crosswalk without an island? When we know the children are going to the park, they don't cross in one line, they gotta wait, they have an island. So that's how we save lives. It's not really rocket science, it's totally doable. Sustainable mobility obviously is not just walking and cycling, but it's also cycling and the uses of cars and public. I'm not saying that this is the end of the car industry, but the way we use cars is changing very, very fast. Now we got hydrogen cars and electric cars, and we're buying a lot of things through the internet, but this is not the best way to get them into the neighborhoods. So now they're hiring a lot of people on bicycles, so the truck goes to one central place, and then the last 2 or 3 miles they do it on bicycles. And they're talking about driverless cars, and then they show us all of these beautiful drawings. They say, when are we going to have traffic jams? Like, the driver is not the one causing the traffic jam. It's the car. If we don't change our behavior, we're going to have the same traffic jams. It can be great or can be horrible. It depends on all of us. How do we regulate this? And of course, we can ride bicycles. Imagine going to the park like this in Atlanta. This is totally doable. I mean, Atlanta would be as good as Copenhagen in cycling. Why not? In Atlanta, 1.5% of the trips are on bikes. Here is 41%. And they're not happy with 41. They want to go to 50. Men don't need shirts in the summer. Women don't need special shoes. I mean, look at the cycling infrastructure to get to the park. I was looking coming to the park yesterday to Piedmont. First, I saw all of these scooters on the sidewalks. Get rid of the scooters on the sidewalks. We walk at 3 miles an hour. Anything that moves at more than twice the speed of the pedestrian should be on the street, off the sidewalk. Those roads are very, very dangerous, especially for the most vulnerable people. You know, children don't walk on a straight line. Sometimes children don't even walk looking forward. You're with your child and the child is looking at you. I said, hey, look where you're going. Older adults, people handicapped, blind people, people in wheelchairs. I mean, anything that you do on cycling in Atlanta, think of them. It's about, think of the children. You know, if it's not safe for an 80 and an 80, it's nothing. It's nothing. Don't even call it a bikeway. So anything that you do, always think of how it will affect children and immigrants and older. It's about them, it's about everybody. Go in front of City Hall and do 1 block with protected bikeway on one side and coming back with nothing, and then ask them to ride with their families and then do a survey. How do they feel? The only way to improve cycling is we need to lower the speed and we need to create a network of protected byways. So everything I said about 20K for walking is the same for cycling, but we need to create a grid, a network of protected byways. Nothing as important as connectivity. Because if I don't ride my bike to the park, because I'm scared, and now 30% is safe, but the other 70% is not, I'm not going to do it. Don't just paint the line, and because people are not going to use it. Enhance the painted line, put some plastic bollards, and it's going to make a world of difference. That's why people bike in Copenhagen, because there's a whole network, there is connectivity. And we're going to put public transit. They say a civilized city is not the one where the poor have cars. It's the one where the rich use public transit. That is very important. Sometimes you might have to have buses, sometimes you might have to have trains. And part of it is hardware, but also part of it is software. A mayor said, my citizens don't like the bus, so he got his buses, he put a nose, he covered the wheels, and now they look like trains. Part of it is marketing. You know, don't do these horrible things in Atlanta. Don't cover the windows. Dignify the transit user. You don't do this on your private car, why do you think the transit user like it? Also, it's very dangerous. You need safety. At daytime and nighttime. It makes it safe if you're going to be able, if you're inside, to look outside. If you're outside, to look inside. Set advertisement, but don't cover the windows, and especially don't cover the windows selling cars, because it's very painful. You know, I was working 2 weeks ago in Istanbul. You know, what makes transit go fast is not if the wheels are rubber or metal, it's if they have dedicated lanes or not. You know, and then you're going to have, so 4 messages, because now they put me a sign here, 20 minutes. Parks. Let me give you some symptoms when you go out, here in Piedmont and in other places of rain. One symptom is good places to sit. This guy needed 5 chairs to be happy. His feet, his Big Mac on a bench, he would not have been as happy. Sometimes people say monkey see, monkey does. Sometimes it's people see, people do. Sidewalks without any bench, you know, or we even put nails. But this guy was so tired he had to sit on his briefcase while his friend fainted. And his wife is sitting on their baby. You got nice places to sit, and it's kind of magical. Even in the middle of the winter, this old woman goes to the park. You got movable chairs. People don't even sit facing each other. They sit facing others. It starts to rain, and people won't even move. When I was in Istanbul, I saw these guys sitting on bollards. When it's ironic when they got like 20 chairs. You know, another symptom, sociability. You go to the park, you see people talking to each other. It's a good symptom. Another one, diversity. When you see children, you see youth, you see older adults, you see handicap. Another symptom, affection. We're affectionate, we feel at ease, we feel safe. Another high proportion of women. Women are more selective. If they don't feel safe and at ease, they don't go to the parks. But those are just symptoms, some characteristics. I think the biggest problem in parks is that there is no management. No management. People, cities tend to think that management and maintenance is the same. I think that in many ways what I call management is what Mitchell this morning called caring. It's not just about picking up the garbage and cutting the grass. That might be 20%. The other 80%, of course, you need to pick up the garbage, but the other 80% having grandparents and grandchildren doing bread. It's about having uses and activities, walking and biking and skating, and having lunch and playing chess and taking a nap. Management is about having volunteers, but giving them the tools. Management is about asking the citizens before, during, and after, what do they want? Management is about going to the children and don't go to the public meetings and asking them what is it that they want and providing ideas and doing workshops. Management is about human, financial, and physical resources. Management is about having a good fit with the city so that not all parks have the same things. It's also about safety. In London, England, I saw this, beware of the thieves. This is like an open invitation to the thieves of the city. Come here because there's a good market. No, you need a lot of police only when the parks are empty. You don't need police when the parks are full. So what is the lowest cost of safety in parks? Uses and activities. But I go to cities and it seems easier to find the millions to do the parks than to find the thousands to make it work. You say, oh, let's do a move in the park. We don't have money. Let's do walking groups. We don't have money. Let's do knitting groups. We don't have money. No, you need to have money because empty parks have very few benefits. So we gotta have that management. And sometimes management seems invisible. You don't see it. But someone has given the permits and the organizing, whether they're doing laughing yoga, or they're doing skating, and the lighting and things. And parks are throughout the year. Sometimes people think parks is a summer issue. No, it's 52 weeks of the year. Some people want to get married in the summer. Some people want to get married in the winter. I don't know, but you're saying 5 and here says 15.
We're leaving some time for questions and answers.
Oh. Well, she put 15 and now she put 5. Let's cut it in half, 10. So you have small parks or large. We can have both because they satisfy very different needs. In the small neighborhood park, that's where we develop a sense of belonging. We meet our friends, our neighbors. But we're not going to be able to play baseball or soccer, so we need the medium-sized parks. And we're not going to be able to go canoeing, so we need the big ones. So at the end of the day, we need a citywide park system with small, with medium, with large. So a good community is like a good park, totally integrated with nature. And very safe, especially for children, for women, for other adults. I said, don't copy, but yes, adapt. It's not like copying like in the computer. Everybody's going to learn from everybody. I mean, anyone from anywhere in the world can come here and people, and it's going to be able to learn how it was designed, how it was built, how it's being managed. And I went to the Birdline yesterday. Oh, God, it was fantastic. Seeing so many people. A few years ago, it was just a dream. Actually, you gotta remind people, put these photos of before and after all over the place because citizens have very short-term memory and they forget. And it's good to remind citizens where is it that the tax money goes. So in all of the parks, have photos before and after, before and after. It's good to remind people. And it's something, a few months, last year I was working in Toyama. And with my friend Emero, I've been going there for like 15 years now. He was showing me older adults. And it was nice, the kind of activities that they were doing. But one that I really like is people with dementia, with Alzheimer. They take it to the park, they put him a GPS, and then the family member brings him in the morning, goes to work, and then goes to pick him up at lunchtime. If they don't find him, then they just go to the GPS and they know exactly where they are. People used to keep people with Alzheimer inside their houses because they were off. Now it's much healthier to have them in the parks. Also, they multiply the anti-cancer cells and all. Part of it is software, part of it is hardware. We need progress and infrastructure. Even things in the winter. I know that you don't have a lot of snow, but it does get darker and whatever. So we gotta work. We gotta work with the media people to stop saying so many negative things because then people don't go to the parks. All of the media says, oh, it's going to be cold, it's going to be freezing, oh, bundle up, get your fun. My God, if you don't want to do You know, the weather in Atlanta, maybe you should go to Arizona or something. We need people in the weather to be much more positive. And we need Parks and Rec and all of the foundations and conservancies to do a lot more programs. For example, one of the things that people hate about winter is not so much that it gets cold, it's that it gets dark. So we should put lights all over the place, and we should call them winter lights, not Christmas lights. It's more politically correct, and we can put them in November right after Halloween, and we can keep it in March. You know, cities, people say cities don't change. They do change. Melbourne was a horrible city 30 years ago, and they started changing. What did they do? They put public art in all of the parks and all of the streets. They planted trees. The streets without any trees, same streets with trees. They increasing the public space and the parks all over the places, turning more than 84 laneways into people places. They had a river going right through the middle of the city that was all polluted, and with factories, they got rid of the factories, and they created a magnificent linear park, the Yarra River on both sides, and doing beautiful pedestrian bridges on board. So it's about that. No one wanted to live in Melbourne. Now everybody wants to live in Melbourne. Beautiful parks and sidewalks and public places, and improving all of the street furniture. So it's doable. A few months ago, I was working in Gothenburg with the Parks Commissioner and the Planning Commissioner, and they went to show me some parks, and in one of them it was raining a lot, and I said, oh my God, what are they doing? They said, oh, this is where we're going to build a park 1 or 2 years from now. So for a full year, we're bringing 150 children to play. And then the city staff from the planners and the designers and the people from parks, they need to come and try out new games with these children. And they said, but it's raining. They said, you don't remember, there's no such thing as bad weather. But clothing, they have the right clothing. Actually, in November, they opened in Gothenburg a park that is called Rain Park. It rains 24/7, 52. To tell the citizens, we live in a city that it rains a lot. It's not going to kill anybody. Actually, you get more sick putting all of the kids in one room. It's not that around the world, people are turning the roads for cars are becoming parks for people. You know, here there used to be a river going right through the middle, but 50 years ago, when it was about efficiency, they put a road on top of it. But they said, can we go to Atlanta and invite the best people to live here? Probably not. So someone said, wasn't there a river? 8 years ago, they took out the road, you know, same store, same thing. And they created a wonderful park in the middle of the city. Here, they had to decide 6 lanes for cars or a mile and a quarter of linear park. Imagine the lives of all of these thousands and thousands of people living in their condos. Remember the density? Same as what you're doing along the Beltline? Beautiful density of 4, 5, 6 stories. And how is that? In Seoul, South Korea, there used to be a river going through the middle. They did 5 lanes of cars, it got full, so they did a second floor. It got full, so they wanted to do a 3rd floor. And the mayor said, no city in the world have some mobility, none, to the private car. If that was an option, you would have hundreds. Let the people in Winnet County, because I heard that they voted last week not to have a train. Okay. So the mayor tore down the 2nd floor, tore down the 1st, tore down the river. Imagine, this is 8 miles through the middle of the city and created a beautiful linear park. A park of 8 miles through the heart. And people were saying, oh, people are not going to stop for coffee as you're going at 60 miles an hour, anybody was going to stop. Now there's just 2 lanes. And if you have elevated, which is horrible, in Toronto, they just changed this into this, doing beautiful park, activated in the summer, activated in the winter. But it's not about parks, it's about the benefits. So it's not about parks or walking or anything, it's about creating a great Atlanta for all people. And working on parks is going to be good for culture, education, recreation, all this. So you're going to have reasons for each one because maybe each one of your counselors has a different priority. For example, one might have health and wellness. So tell that counselor, is this what the future looks like? Okay. I'm all on that. You know, the issue of obesity is not how people look, is that it has to do with heart attack, respiratory problems, and depression. You know, the US has the highest obesity in the world. It doesn't make any sense. And when people say it's always been like this, you know, here in Atlanta you have the CDC. So you know that 20 years ago there was not a state with more than 20%. Today we don't have a state with less than 20%. So it doesn't make any sense. We're going to improve the school lunches. We're going to have farmers markets all over Atlanta. We're going to have urban gardening all over in many of the parks that develop a sense of belonging. And of course, we're going to be also active. Not about doing marathons. It's just 60 minutes a day for children, 30 minutes a day for adults. So there's an urgency of being physically active. But people always say, oh, the magical pill. There is no magical pill. The only way that Atlanta is going to be more physically active, the only way is if people walk or bike as a normal part of everyday life, in the parks, in the sidewalks. And all of this walking and cycling in the parks are going to improve their physical health. But there is no health without mental health. It's just that loneliness. Loneliness is very great. Last year, the UK created the Ministry of Loneliness. Loneliness improves 29% the heart disease, twice the possibility of dementia. Depression has become the leading cause of disability. If we have contact with nature, it's going to improve our mood, our attention. So this is not just because it looks beautiful, it's also because it's going to improve our mental health. That we're going to have green spaces and parks, and in the homes and in the schools, and the bicycle parking and in the streets, everywhere we need to have green. Green neighborhoods is going to lower the depression, the anxiety, the stress. We're going to have nature everywhere, at home, at the school. And all of you are going to become a guardian angel of the gentle majority. By gentle majority, I mean, you know, the squeaky wheel. You know, the children, you know, the older adults, you know, the poor. Let me give you an example. Children. Imagine in Atlanta, you have playability everywhere. We go out here, out of the botanical gardens, and in the sidewalk, there are swings. You are waiting for Martha, and there's a small parquet, and there are buses. It's not about money. It's about letting your mind go a little bit wild and explore and do things. And look at just the body language of these children, how happy they are. And you're going to say, great, because playing is fun and games. But it's not only fun and games. Playing is how children learn. Playing is how children develop their muscle strength, their sociability, their friendship, their coordination. So we're going to have parks in Atlanta everywhere. And you're going to start doing them, and this is going to be the future city builders. And you're going to have the goal that in Atlanta, every kid should have a park within a short walk. So let's start doing those parks. And if you don't find parks, let's think of the schools and the streets and the library. New York, what New York has done, they thought every kid had a park. No, not every kid. So they went to the schools. They said, this is horrible pavement. We'll improve this only if and only if you make it a community park, a school park. And look what they did. Why so much green? Because when they play in green, they reduce the attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder. New York has increased by about 26% the playgrounds without buying 1 inch of land, transforming school into school parks. The schools are magnificent to be community hubs, and if you don't have a school, take over a street in a neighborhood and do it. Older adults were living longer, not longer, much, much longer. You know, the people that have ever lived to 65 are alive today and are having fun and are healthy and active. You know, in Atlanta, in the next 25 years, you're going to triple the population over 65. You're going to triple the population over 65. And you're going to quadruple the population over 80. So we better think about what is the role of parks in the older adult. People are not thinking about retirement. People are thinking about retirement from the point of view of re-engagement. We need to create a movement of 65 and life. We got to remind people that this is a wasted asset that we have. People with knowledge, with experience, healthier and wealthier, and we got to use it. You know, in the U.S. we have doubled the life expectancy in the last 150 years. We learn how to survive. But with all of these issues of traffic congestion and health, we need to learn how to live. And parks is a fantastic place to learn how to live and how to be healthier and how to be happier, because a lot of this is also about the built environment. So look at what we were talking about, games, walkability. Every single park in Atlanta should have a walking path. It doesn't matter how big or small the park is, we need walking paths. But not only the walking path, we need to have the walking groups. Because when you say, oh, I see the path, I see people walking, you see the few that are walking, you don't see the many that are not. You're going to have the walking group for people to come out and, of course, not only walk, dance and read and bird watching and watching Tai Chi and so many other activities. And how about multi-intergenerational activities? Now, I had the first grandchild a few months ago, so I'm even more interested. So we got to have places. Every single playground should have an area for parents and grandparents to go and sit and socialize, and also issues of loneliness. I invite you to fight ageism. Ageism is discrimination by age. It doesn't make any sense to have ageism. People are saying old as if that was a sin to be old. And people are saying, you know, about Alzheimer. You know, now less than 10% of the people get Alzheimer. But the other 90%, we get anxiety while Alzheimer. We don't find the keys and we say, oh, it's getting to me. What is Maria's last name? It's getting to me. No, most people don't get it. And the one that get it can be very happy, can go to the parks and can do all kinds of activities. By the way, the happiest times in life is the childhood and the older age. Ageism is a prejudice. It's so dumb that it's a prejudice against our parents, against our grandparents, against our own future selves. Ageism is not a disease or a problem. Aging is living. We need to fight ageism. And the last example, because I've got 1 minute, is we need to change. And I know that change is hard. That's why we don't change, because doing more of the same is easy. You know, in Copenhagen, when they were going to do their first pedestrian street and plazas and squares, they said, oh, we got too many cars, and the weather is horrible, and, you know, it's not part of our culture. That's what they said. Well, they did one, and now look at this. Now, they said it was for the Italians. No, the Danish now are more Italian than the Italians. They turned 18 parking lots into parks. To people places. They did one, and then they tried, and then people loved it, and the business did very well, so they did the next one and the next one. So when you're going to change in parts in Atlanta, because imagine you're going to triple the population over 65. You're going to double the population of Atlanta. So when you're going to have to change a lot of things. First, change is not unanimous. Change it. Honestly, listen, but it's not unanimous. Second, the general interest always must prevail over the particular. And third, when you say no, you're also saying yes. So when people say, oh, we don't want that car. Okay, you're saying yes to more obesity, to more depression, to more anxiety. So we need to change. And we need to do something. Sometimes 2 weeks ago, this little girl, 16-year-old, she had over 1,000 cities around the world, high school students, striking. They didn't go to school. They went to the streets. So is that what it takes? In the parks movement, is that what it takes? She was saying, I don't want hope. I want you to act. I want you to act as if you were in a crisis, as if the house was on fire, because it is. So I want to emphasize this is not technical or financial issues. This is political from the point of view of policy. It's not about political parties with a big P. Everybody needs to participate. We got to move from talking to doing. We need to create alliances, like a three-legged stool. One of the legs are the elected officials at the city, at the state, at the national. Another leg is the public sector staff, but not just parks. Also planning and transportation and health and education. And there is the community. We gotta get the media, we gotta get the activists, and we gotta get the students, we gotta get the business. How do we get all three legs together? What is the glue? Is the sense of urgency. I mean, if you don't have a sense of urgency, when Metro Atlanta is gonna grow by 50%, when Atlanta is gonna grow by 100%, when the older adults are gonna triple, when you got more than 30% obesity, I mean, there's many symptoms to pick. What is the sense of urgency? Then develop a shared vision and action. Sometimes people have a vision, but no action. So no one needs to be done, but they don't do it, so they become frustrated. Others the other way around, they're acting, but they don't have a vision. So it's like a Frankenstein, it's chaos. But if you develop a shared vision for Atlanta, and you have action, parks are going to lead the way in creating a healthy and successful Atlanta food. And then you're going to move from talking to doing, and you're going to say, Gil, but we're doing, yes, you're doing, but you're going to do more, and you're going to do it faster. So Atlanta, let's do it. Now.